Last year, my ex-husband David died in a tragic car accident. Since then, my life has been a whirlwind of family drama. My two daughters, Lily and Sophie, and I have been trying to move on, but my ex-in-laws, Margaret and Harold, have made it almost impossible. David's betrayal had already shattered our family, but his death brought a whole new level of chaos David and I met in college. He was charming, ambitious, and full of life. We built a life together, raised two beautiful daughters, and I believed we were a perfect family. But as the years went by, I started to notice small cracks in our relationship. David became distant, always on his phone, staying late at work, and traveling more often. I tried to ignore the signs, convincing myself that he was just stressed from work. The truth finally came out when Lily found a series of suspicious messages on his phone. They weren't just friendly texts. They were romantic, filled with promises and late-night confessions. Sophie, too, had her suspicions when she overheard her father whispering on the phone late one night. She didn't understand everything, but she knew something was very wrong. One evening, while David was in the shower, I decided to confront my fears. I picked up his phone, opened his messages, and there it was, undeniable proof of his affair. Photos, love notes, even plans to start a new life with this other woman. My world crumbled in that moment. I felt the ground beneath me give way, and I realized that the man I had loved for so many years had been living a double life. After his death, Margaret took it upon herself to restore the family. She started showing up at our house unannounced, trying to control every aspect of our lives. She even went as far as trying to tell my daughters that they needed to forgive their father and move on. She conveniently left out the part where her precious son had not only cheated on me, but also fathered two children with his mistress. Margaret's manipulation didn't stop there. She began contacting my daughters directly, trying to guilt them into spending time with their half-brothers, the children born from David's affair. She would leave long, emotional voicemails saying things like, "Your father was a good man, and those boys need you. They have no one else now." But my daughters, having already discovered their father's betrayal, wanted nothing to do with those children. For them, their father's affair was a wound that would never fully heal. One day, it all came to a head. It was Sophie's 15th birthday, and I had given her a small budget to spend at the local farmer's market, a chance for her to feel a bit of normalcy. About an hour after she left, my phone rang. It was Sophie, her voice shaking, her words barely coherent through her tears. She had been cornered by 6 older women at the market, women from Margaret's church who were berating her for not being a good Christian and for refusing to spend time with her poor orphan baby brothers. Lily and I rushed to the market. When we found Sophie, she was standing in the middle of a circle of angry women, her eyes wide and wet with tears. I pushed my way through the crowd, pulled Sophie into my arms, and told Lily to pay for her sister's things and head to the car. Then I turned to those women who looked at me with judgment and disdain, and I let them have it. "You have no right to corner my daughter like this," I snapped. "You have no idea what she's been through, what we've all been through. Shame on you for attacking a child in public." The shouting grew louder, the women becoming more defensive, throwing out Bible verses and accusations about Christian duty. Eventually, the market staff had to intervene, asking all of us to leave. We walked to the car, the women still shouting after us like vultures chasing wounded prey. That night, after my daughters had gone to bed, I checked my messages. I had a notification from a mutual friend at Margaret's church. Apparently, Margaret had posted a dramatic, sympathy-seeking story on the church's Facebook group, accusing me of abandoning her, leaving her homeless and penniless, and turning my daughters against their poor orphan brothers. She even claimed that the children from David's affair were our surrogate children because I was too selfish to have more kids. An absolutely disgusting lie. But I was ready. I had evidence. I had years of messages, emails, and photos documenting David's affair and Margaret's complicity. I had messages from Margaret herself, calling my daughters bastards, and blaming them for their father's death. One of the most heartbreaking messages was from just 2 days after David's death, where Margaret told my daughters that their father would still be alive if they had just kept quiet about the affair. I gathered all the evidence, printed it on high-quality paper, and bound it into booklets that look like hymn books, the kind Margaret and her friends used at church. The cover simply said, "The Truth" in bold, red letters. Inside, I included photos of David with his mistress, text messages, and emails showing the full extent of the betrayal. I slipped these booklets into the hymn book shelves at Margaret's church the next Sunday. It didn't take long for the whispers to start. The shockwaves rippled through the congregation, and Margaret's carefully crafted image as the grieving, saintly grandmother shattered in an instant. As the weeks went on, the fallout from my little hymn book stunt grew more intense. Margaret and Harold became pariahs in their own church. The same people who once sang hymns beside them now whispered behind their backs, exchanging knowing glances and avoiding eye contact. Margaret, once the self-proclaimed matriarch of the community, was now a figure of scorn and pity. But I wasn't done. I knew that simply exposing their lies in church wouldn't be enough. Margaret had spread her web of deceit far beyond those walls, and I intended to dismantle it piece by piece. First, I sent copies of the booklets to the local businesses Margaret frequented: the bakery where she gossiped over coffee, the hair salon where she spun her tales of family betrayal, and even the florist where she bought her precious Sunday flowers. I included a cover letter, carefully written to sound professional yet dripping with sarcasm. To whom it may concern, please find enclosed a complete account of Margaret's lies, manipulations, and abuse. Feel free to share with others, as she has always encouraged the free flow of information. Yours sincerely, the selfish ex-daughter-in-law. Then I took it a step further. I contacted the private school my daughters attended, where Margaret had tried to poison the teachers against my girls. I provided them with the full report of the harassment, including Margaret's attempts to spread false rumors about my daughter's behavior and my supposed neglect as a mother. The headmistress was appalled, and within days, Margaret and Harold found themselves banned from school events and parent meetings. But the real blow came when I sent a final package to Margaret and Harold's closest friends, a group of elderly, church-going women who met every week for Bible study. In this package, I included a personalized letter to each woman, detailing Margaret's lies and manipulations, along with screenshots of her messages to my daughters. I made sure to highlight the part where Margaret called my daughters bastards and blamed them for their father's death. I knew these women prided themselves on their Christian values, and nothing would wound Margaret more than losing their support. Within days, Margaret's world crumbled. She lost her social circle, her standing in the church, and the support of her once loyal friends. Harold, always the silent supporter, found himself isolated as well. They became outcasts in their own community, forced to live with the shame of their actions. Margaret tried one final act of desperation, a long, tearful Facebook post about how no one cared for the elderly anymore, how the world had become a cruel, heartless place. She blamed me, my daughters, even the church, for her isolation. But the comments under her post told a different story. People she once called friends simply replied with verses about honesty, repentance, and the wages of sin. In the end, Margaret and Harold got exactly what they deserved, not just the loss of their social status, but the loss of their self-respect and credibility. They had spent years trying to manipulate, control, and shame my daughters and me, but in the end, the truth prevailed. My daughters are finally free from their toxic influence. Sophie has regained her confidence. Her grades have improved, and she no longer fears walking through the halls of her school. Lily, ever the fierce protector, has come into her own as a strong, independent young woman. And as for me, I can finally breathe again, knowing that the weight of their lies has been lifted. I have no regrets. The truth is a powerful thing, and sometimes the only way to set yourself free is to burn the bridges behind you and walk away without looking back. As I sat in my quiet living room, the soft hum of the evening settling around me, I couldn't help but reflect on the chaos of the past year. The lies, the betrayal, the attempts to manipulate and control my daughters and me. It all seemed like a distant storm now. I looked over at the family photos on the wall, images of happier times, birthdays, vacations, first days of school, and felt a deep, unwavering sense of peace. My daughters, once caught in a web of lies and deceit, had found their strength. Sophie was smiling again, her laughter echoing through the halls of our home. Lily had become a fierce protector, not just of her sister, but of our family and the truth we fought so hard to reclaim. As for Margaret and Harold, they had become mere shadows, echoes of a past that no longer had power over us. They had tried to break us, to twist our reality to fit their own twisted narrative. But in the end, the truth had shattered their illusions. And as I took a deep breath, letting the warmth of the moment wash over me, I whispered to myself, justice, it seems, was served.